control. Man, that looks great.
Jets! Oh my God, it's so beautiful. 78 degrees, Jets football, and we're winning. That's what's going on today. That's why everybody's so psyched. This isn't no happenstance. This is a guarantee, just like Joe Namath said. See that?
There are few things in life you cannot put a price on. Loyalty, tradition, fierce passion. Today is a gigantic family reunion because finally, they're back.
Well, good morning, Jets fans. I am happy to see you. I am happy to be here. I am GreenBean, and this is this day's installment of Good Morning Jets. I appreciate the patience during the what are you going to call it? A mandatory, unscheduled hiatus with everything going on over here. As I've shared with you guys, it was increasingly difficult to get here in the morning, so we just put it to bed for a minute. The last one I did, I think we did from Mobile. I was with Dom C down there in Mobile, Alabama, checking out the Senior Bowl. And so now here we are again. It's nice to be here with you guys. I want to put this up before we get started. I love, this is the first comment that we have this morning. Nice and early from Philip Bogachuk, a gentleman I was able to meet at the Coney Island Cyclone event that we have every year for the last 2 years. And it's becoming an annual thing, right? Down there up there in Coney Island for opening day weekend. And what a beautiful thing. Good morning, everyone. Love, respect, and cherish each other. And of course, go Jets. It's a beautiful thing to see. And I got to say, yeah, man, I do cherish you guys. I cherish disagreeing with so many of you on so many instances. I also cherish the agreements that we have when we can iron it out, look at it objectively and go, you know what? Maybe you're right. I enjoy that so much. So, guys, today, I see a lot of you pouring in here. Thank you for being here, guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to point out something today that we have an interesting turn. We have an interesting batch of stuff going on. Now, really nothing's happening overall. We have a few things happening, but lots and lots of talk. And it's a crazy thing that happens. We try to do this. We try to set ourselves up at the beginning of the offseason. When we go into the offseason, this year, it took a little longer. Oh, you know what? I forgot to turn my mic on. Hold on a second. I know you can still hear me. Let's get this right. Let's do this right. I'm like, I feel like something's in my face. What? I felt naked. So let me see. Is it on? Let me just double check here. Sorry about that, everybody. And we're off. You guys hear that? Am I better? Yeah, I should be better now. So we talk about this at the beginning of the offseason. And again, it took longer to get here for us this year. Something that we forget, right? We forget how low we've been. We've been so low that Jets fans were talking about our big hope going into this 2022 season, our big hopes, because we are so weather beaten and worn, right? We want 7 to 9 wins. And we want to be playing meaningful football in December. Some people even said November. Like, I just want it in November. If we can get out of November with meaningful football, I'm going to be grateful. Now, we did all of that. The way we did it with the collapse, we've talked about this, right? It was really just the worst possible way. Get you crazy excited and then drop your hammer on your head. It's the worst way to do it. But the truth is that we did it. And, playing meaningful football until the second to last week of the season is new, is rare for us, right? So being grateful for that is one thing, but realizing that it took us a little bit longer to get the offseason started is another, right? So here we are. Now, we talk about these things like, guys, let's make sure we keep our wits about us. We keep our wits about us here, and that we don't go nuts with every whammy thing going on, right? Their job out there, them, the theys out there, their job is to make us remain interested, right? Now, how do you do that? You inflame emotions, right? So you tell us, oh my God, this is really exciting. We go, holy shit, and we look and try to suck up as much as we can. Then they go, I don't know, man, this looks bad. And you go, oh my God, this can't be. And you do the same thing. So that's what they do. Now, we've heard that Aaron Rodgers was all but a lock, right? He was all but a lock. It's going to happen, right? Then we heard that it's not going to, the Raiders. Oh no. And then we heard that the Jets might be interested in Derek Carr. The Jets called about a trade. And then it's like, oh, now the Jets aren't interested in Derek Carr. Not only that, there was something that came out recently that said Derek Carr's not interested in the Jets. Oh no. Then a couple days ago, we got some information that the Jets not only are in love with Ryan Tannehill, but they'd be willing to trade picks for Ryan Tannehill. Oh no. Then we heard that Aaron Rodgers doesn't love us, Derek Carr doesn't love us, and the Jets are probably going to go for Jimmy G. That's the one that everybody can see it. So do you see it? Now we have all these things going on, but what's real? Well, none of it's real. None of it's real. Not a single thing. So there's only, as far as the Jets. Now, what did happen out there is that the Jets did reach out to the Raiders for a trade. We didn't learn that from us. We learned that from the Raiders, right? As we know, the Jets are super crazy, tight-lipped, and they don't tell us anything. Now, so that we know. We also know that the New York Jets have hired a few people. So that can give us some inclinations toward what we might be seeing, right? We have a few guys, and that's what we'll start talking about first. We have obviously Nathaniel Hackett, right? We hired Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, right. Anders, Thanksgiving. That's all we want. That's what we wanted, man. So we have Nathaniel Hackett that we some love, some hate, some are impartial, right? Accomplished guy, been through different programs, has done really well, has done poorly. We learned last year that the idea of him being a head coach might be a little bit premature, right? He's not going to get a head coaching gig for a minute. So the good news with him is that if he is successful here, it might be a couple years of him. You see what I mean? Like, so, we all get nervous. How many times, even just last year, when people were worried that LaFleur was going to leave us for a head coaching job. Oh no, we're good. That means he's going to go. Well, Nathaniel Hackett went over to the Denver Broncos and didn't do so well, man. As a matter of fact, there's reason to believe, and really at least a partial argument, that he made Russell Wilson, the great Russell Wilson, look bad. Right now, we don't know. Looked to me like Russell Wilson was a smidge off, and that the team wasn't really digging Russell Wilson. Remember all the the knee highs on the plane and all the things that we heard about Russell Wilson, that he wasn't really jiving with the team. So there's probably a lot of both, right? There's a lot of variables to the story, but no matter how you slice it, Nathaniel Hackett went to Denver, much ballyhooed hire, and 2 back-to-back MVPs for his quarterback in Green Bay. Look, and you can say Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, but those were 2 of his best years. They were, and just so happened to be with Nathaniel Hackett. Now, maybe he had nothing to do with it. Maybe the combination is lightning in a bottle. Who knows? But he didn't do so well as a head coach. So if he comes to New York and he gives us the top 5 offense in the NFL, number 1 offense, more than likely it's going to be a couple years before a team's really ready to put him at the head. You see what I'm saying? So that could be a positive. Now he goes out and more than likely is at least part of the conversation to hire a couple of guys. One is Keith Carter. Keith Carter is our offensive line coach and running game coordinator. Now, Keith Carter is interesting because very, very good running game, but he has Derrick Henry, right? But when Derrick Henry went down, they remained a very strong running team, which was surprising to see. I'll be honest, I thought they were going to fall off a cliff. Derrick Henry is a huge part of their offense. But again, when he went down, they still got into the playoffs and they were able to wait his injury out. And he came back, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think he came back in the playoffs or whatever it was. So you have that. And he's a very efficient red zone, which we have not had here. We have not had here. We just, I mean, even if we're lighting it up in the game, a la the Vikings game or the second Bills game, we just can't get in the end zone. We just couldn't do it. 6 times in the red zone in Minnesota. That's one of the worst games, right? If not the worst game of the year. I mean, it was just atrocious because that was kind of pivotal. We beat the Vikings and everything's different. Everything's different, in my opinion. Berrios doesn't degrade and slide into the dark malaise that he slid into at the back half of the season. And then we go into Buffalo, having beat them, So we've won 2 of the last 3 games coming out of the bye. We're going into Buffalo. There's a little bit more head of steam on us, and everything could be different. So, but then we have this guy, Todd Downing. Now, Todd Downing is an interesting hire because I'll admit he's not somebody that I've done too much research on, right? So we're going to go, we'll take a little look at somebody who does research. Let's take a look at our friends at JetX. And this is what they've put together. Here's Downing's resume for us. We'll get it a little bit larger for you. Okay, can we see that? Let me see. Yep, we can see that. I'll take the banner off so you can see. So here's what we're looking at with this guy, Todd Downing. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Hank, Matt. I see you guys. It's good to see you. Salty Nuts. All you guys are here. It's great. Dick Chimney's Burners here. Rusty Spooner's here. Look, I love it. Saying good morning to one another. I love that. That's the best. Thomas Cahill, Armand's here. That's so great. Walt's here. Chode, Matt L. Good to see you guys. Rich is here. Now, are you the same Rich from Twitter? Are you Southern Jet Rich? Let me know in the comments. All right, so we have this. So take a look at this. Todd Downing's resume. Now, he comes with a little bit of a negative, right? He's recently had a DUI, which isn't good. And if I'm being completely frank, is a trigger point for me, right? I come from the world of addiction and treating it and being an addict myself and all that, alcoholic, all that sort of stuff. I'm very sensitive to such things. But I'm also one who believes there should be a zero tolerance with alcohol and driving these days. Now, look, years ago, guys, be real honest, I was driving drunk constantly. I mean, that's what I did in my teens and 20s. It wasn't quite as the awareness wasn't there, quite the same, but it is what it is. I haven't driven drunk in decades, right? So, but the way that I look at it is, in today's day and age with Lyft and Uber and just all the different options that are available, it has never been easier in human history, unless the era with magic carpets really existed. Let's say that was real and the carpets he had a carpet, he's lay on the carpet, he takes you home, maybe. But unless that happened, we have no time in human history has it been easier to just not drive drunk, right? So that's a bad thing, and it's a negative, man, no matter how you slice it. I've seen some people minimize it. I've seen some people get inflamed. I'm right here with it. I don't like it. Now, I didn't like it with Becton, but I do think that, guys, I do believe in redemption. I believe in that wholeheartedly, right? You guys know this. So it's just something to keep an eye on. And it's something that a one strike, man, you do anything like that again, you're out. Like, that's how it would be with me. All right. So that all said, here's what he's done. So last year, I want to point out something that's really, there's a trend on here. You might be picking up on it already. There's a trend on here that I'd like to point out as the major positive that I see. Okay. So let's go back. So we'll start here. So 2005, he's a quality control coach with the Minnesota Vikings. We know that. We know that word. Saleh was a quality control coach. Ulbricht was a quality control coach. But more recently, Calabrese was a quality control coach. The Jets took him and made him quarterbacks coach. And right away, with the passing of Greg Knapp, Rob Calabrese is solo living it with full responsibility of our number 2 overall pick, Zach Wilson, and of course, Mike White and anybody else on the roster, Streveler and all that. So not maybe if they look back, and if they had it to do over, they might not do it the same way. Particularly when you learn that LaFleur just isn't a good development coach, at least at this point in his career. So he does that, comes through this similar route as lots of other coaches. Then he's on the defensive side of the ball in 2006 and 7 as a defensive assistant and special teams. Now, special teams coaches are interesting. I love when guys have special teams coordinator or coach in their background, because that's the one coach that has to deal with everybody. Like the defensive coaches, they work with the defensive. They got the backs, they got the linemen, they got the linebackers. And then the offensive coordinator, he's not really talking much with the safeties, and it's not. Now, special teams has to collect and hodgepodge all of them, and they have to choose from the entire team who they think could be applicable to what they're trying to accomplish. So I always like that. Special teams coordinators, they don't get enough credit, in my opinion, for what they really do and how they're kind of the bridge between everything, right? You guys know we had Mike Westhoff on here, arguably the best special teams coach in NFL history. He broke it down a little bit for us on how it's done, and it's fascinating. So then in 2008, he goes back to quality control with the Rams after being a special teams assistant, which is interesting. But he's like not just so he was offensive quality control, now he's defensive quality control. Then the Lions switched into quality control. So for 4 years, he's essentially a quality control coach with 2 years that's 5 years really, as a special teams guy. So then he starts his offense. So the Lions take him from offensive quality control coach, and they say, hey, we like this guy. Let's make him the assistant quarterbacks coach. Then the quarterback coach leaves or gets fired, and they bump him up. So he's getting a promotion now to quarterbacks coach. He's there for 2 years, and he moves over to the Bills as quarterback coach. So then he goes to the Raiders as quarterback coach. Look at all these years now. 2010 to 2016, he's a quarterback coach, which is a good sign, right? He's doing well. He's getting promoted and all that. He's getting jobs for different teams. 3 different teams think he's good enough to be their quarterback coach. But here's where it starts. In 2017, he gets promoted to offensive coordinator. So again, what I'm looking at here is the promotions, right? So if you do well at one job, they consider you for another job, right? So that's a good sign. You're doing a good job at this level, you get considered for the higher level. So he gets an offensive coordinator job here in 2017. They fire everybody and hire Gruden, I believe. And then, whatever. So he's the offensive coordinator in it. So then he goes and he's a tight ends coach with the Minnesota Vikings. Don't forget, he was with the Vikings first. So it's a kind of a homecoming. Then he's a tight ends coach for the Tennessee Titans for 2 years. And once again, he's promoted to offensive coordinator for the Titans. So that's 2 times in his career working with a position, quarterbacks and tight ends, that he gets promoted by the staff that's there. Now, remember, he replaced Arthur Smith in Tennessee. And the first year, they didn't really miss a beat. Last year, they had a little bit of a down. So look, now he led the Titans 21st in offensive DVOA in 22 and 20th in 21. So overall, he's kind of in the middle of the pack, a little bit below middle of the pack. Nothing really exciting as an offensive coordinator, even though he got the jobs, guys. He's not here as the offensive coordinator, right? So that's what we have to remember. It's like looking at Hackett as a bad head coach. Great, he's a bad head coach, but he's not here as a head coach, right? He's not here as a head coach, just like Downing is not here as an offensive coordinator. He's here at the positions, like he's lower at those positions. Numerous times in his career, he's done such a good job that he's been promoted. So that is a good sign. Now, aside from that, I don't really know too much about him. We have to look back at statistics. And you guys know, I always talk about the story. The statistics, box scores, they don't tell the story, man. They just give you the result. But there could be myriad variables and scenarios that took place to get us there. Now, some people go, oh, excuses. Just look at that back. Just look at the bottom line. I am not in that group. I do not believe in bottom line says everything. I just don't. I'm one that looks at the story. It's like when I was hiring people for years, I was a hiring director for numerous years, man. And you get people that look great on paper and they're complete hot garbage because you just looked at the resume. You gotta do certain things and find out the story. So I was an excellent interviewer with my staff. I used to throw curveball questions and see how they reacted. I had a whole thing. If you could be any animal, what would you be? Any animal. And I had what that all means. I have it all. Anyway, it's a whole different thing. But that's the thing. You have to find out the story. You got to get people comfortable enough to tell you the truth. And once you know the truth, then you go, I don't like this person. And they looked fantastic on paper. Same thing happens a lot of times with this stuff. You have to know the story. So I don't know too much of the story of Todd Downing, but when all we have is this, it does look like when I can kind of make up the story, again, the trend is he continually gets promoted at lower jobs. So he's a position coach. He keeps getting promoted to offensive coordinator. He's a quality control coach. He keeps getting promoted to position coach. He's an assistant coach. He gets promoted to. So he's done that numerous times. He's never just like hung out at an assistant job for 8 years. You know what I mean? He's showing something that he can get promoted. So that's a good sign. So you got to let me know what you think about this one. We'll move it over to the comments for a little bit. Hawk agrees. I like agreeing with Hawk. It's not every day. It's not all the time. Jets Forever coming back in with his traditional arguments. Mike White sucks. And pretty soon, if it's not already there, he'll talk about Zach Wilson. So let's see. Let's see what we got here. Everybody's saying good morning. I'm backing it up to see where you guys are. Yes, Armand, all smoke and mirrors out there, buddy. That is the truth. And don't forget, our regime is pretty good at it. They are good, number one, at covering what they're trying to accomplish. They put out all sorts of crazy stuff that's, throwing people off the scent. Red herrings, as we call them, right? Joe Douglas is a red herring master. So let's see what we're talking about. Justin Jett says, I dislike every offensive coaching hire the Jets made. Unless we get Rodgers, I believe it's another year of unwatchable offense. Interesting. That's an interesting take. Now, again, there is support for that argument. A lot of people, you're not alone, Justin. A lot of people look at Hackett and think, meh, at best, meh, And look, last year, with the hiring of Hackett for the Denver head coaching job, remember all the hubbub about Aaron Rodgers going to Denver? That was the hubbub. And it didn't happen. They went and traded a million picks for Justin Jefferson. For Russell Wilson. So it's interesting. Now, I don't feel that way. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I do agree with the second part of your comment, though, man. We get Aaron Rodgers, and everything is moot. I mean, we have a fantastic staff for Aaron Rodgers, right? And I'll bring up something else that Derek Carr's brother said about Josh McDaniels. That's going to be real interesting about the fear of Aaron Rodgers going somewhere else. Let's see. Jets Forever says Reed got scored on by Jefferson. Now, okay. Reed got scored on. Now, yeah, there's Jets Forever. There's a ton of reasons why we lost. Whether it was Garrett Wilson stepping out of bounds or Mike LaFleur's trick plays when we get inside the 20. Why do you do that? There was myriad things, but it all boiled down, just like it always does, to one play. Berrios dropped it. If he catches it, everything else is done. That's the thing. Yes, you can point to lots of other reasons we lost, of course. But it all boiled down. If he catches that pass, everything else was there. He just had to hold on to the ball. If he holds on to the ball, that's a go-ahead touchdown, and the Jets' defense was able to shut them down that entire half. So, including that fourth quarter. So, our defense, we had the momentum, man. So, let's see what Rusty Spooner's saying. I hope we draft 6'6", 253 tight end Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan. I hate that kid. I hope we get him. Dude's a beast. I don't think we're going to go tight end this year, man. I really don't. I just don't. Look, he's my kind of tight end. But Yeah. So now here's an interesting, to Justin's point. One of the things that this staff brings with them that our last staff did not have is experience. They've succeeded and failed, all of them. And that to me is where the value lies. Like when you're looking for the value, it's somewhere in there. What we were watching last year, and while I've defended LaFleur's schemes on numerous occasions, again, I watched the tape. I watch the games. I break down the games. I see what a lot of people aren't seeing. Now, the people that watch it alongside of me tend to agree. Now, that doesn't mean that the play call wasn't stupid. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have any situational awareness. It doesn't mean that LaFleur is terrible at player personnel usage or that his development sucks. Doesn't mean any of that. But on the field, if we would have had a 65% completion percentage quarterback, LaFleur would still be here. I'm just telling you that. Again, not that whether I like them or not, the schemes were working. So all the breakdowns came with everything else. And that is where having experience can be just incredibly beneficial. Now, I don't know how exciting Hackett's offense is going to be. I mean, he likes to use big receivers, likes to use tight ends, so I don't know. That sounds good to me, but I got to look more into what he really likes to do before I can get excited one way or the other. Good morning, Jets Tales. So William Sprague, good morning, William, says you need a real good running game in the red zone because the field's short. Exactly. That's the truth. And the good news is we have running backs. Yeah, alcohol's the worst drug. I'm with you guys. I firmly believe that. Look, Rusty Spooner too. Alcohol should be illegal. I'm telling you, man. There was that old joke, right? You take a stadium, 80,000 people. On one side, you give them all the alcohol they can drink. On the other side, you give them all the weed they can smoke. Where do you think the problems are going to be? Right? Where? Weed, food sales are going to be through the roof, right? You know that. The philosophical, discussions on one, it's going to be all great and creative. The other side is going to be fights and vomit and everything else. It's crazy. Westhoff wants to come back. I would take Westhoff back in a second. I would. I know he's old and all. Dude, he would still, whatever he's still got in the tank is better than 9 out of 10 special teams coaches out there. Although the rules have changed. So that, he was a beneficiary of a lot of the rules, Let's see what else we got. Downing's about as qualified of a passing game coordinator as they come, but he's still an ass, Kareem. Yeah, I mean, that's he major mistake. I don't know, is he an alcoholic? Like I said, like when somebody makes a mistake like that, you have to look at everything else. So drunk driving is not just drunk driving, right? Like people, when you get inebriated, you get drunk, you make poor decisions. That's the whole thing with alcohol, right? That's the whole thing. It lowers inhibitions. You say things you wouldn't say. You do things you wouldn't do. And then you wake up with people you wouldn't normally wake up with. Or sometimes people wake up with you that they look at you and go, oh, my God, how did I end up here? I got to go. Right? Nobody ever feels like they're the person that somebody woke up with as a mistake. Right? Nobody looks at themselves as that. But it happens every day. So you have to look at, so that's one side of it. But you have to also consider the planning aspect of it. Right? And the decision in this day and age to get behind the wheel of the car when you've been drinking, when there are so many options not to avoid that. I know it's a pain in the ass. You got to come back, get your car, whatever it is. But again, the planning aspect, designated driver, there's just so many ways. And that is where the bad shot is. That's where it is. But people make poor decisions, so you got to factor that into your decision-making process. But the Jets seemingly thought it wasn't too big of an issue. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here. I want to talk what the animal I'd walk away from. Yeah, well then I would know not to hire you, William. Believe me, I was hiring people at 6 figures, bro. They answered the question. Yeah, Hank says he'd be a hawk. See that? William, I wouldn't hire you, buddy. If you got up and left, I'd say, there you go. That's why I asked the question, to bleed it out. Believe me. Believe me. Let's see. Ronald Brown can teach Becton how to play as big without getting hurt. Well, look, man, one of the things we have to really hope this year. Now, again, we've talked about it. We don't want to count on him. But if Becton comes back, now all signs point positively, right? We don't know. He can come out, play one snap, and blow his knee out. We don't know. But all the signs are there. Last year, the issues that we had were he wasn't showing up to voluntary. Now, we don't know yet. Voluntaries haven't happened yet. But he wasn't at the facility. He was elsewhere. Now, he's working with an offensive line coach, so that's one thing, with the hell's his name? Duke Manyweather, right? So he's working with him, so that's a positive. But all the things we see, he looks big, he looks kind of loose, a little flabby, he's just looking bad. Now he had the whole kid thing and all, so there's lots of reasons on both sides. But when you just boil it down to how it's impacting his play on the team, with the team, it wasn't a positive. He was winded. He was clearly at least somewhat overweight. And he wasn't with the team during those very, very pivotal voluntary sessions. Believe me when I tell you, man, while guys do understand, especially when you're having a kid, they get it. They're there. So I'm telling you, at least somebody is going to be in that facility thinking, why the hell I got to be here and you're too good to be here? Somebody's thinking that. So it's a negative. So all those things that we had as negatives last year, they're gone. He's been at the facility all year. Now, another thing that I read is that him and his wife and child are up here. So remember, he was in Texas because of them. His wife was about to get, or his girlfriend, right? I don't think they were married. My bad. But they were having a kid, and that's where she was. So that was one of the big things, man. Now, this year, that's not happening already. No, who knows? He might decide not to show up at voluntary. But here's what I see. When you see a guy that looks slender, remember, people said, I don't even know, we didn't even recognize him. That's how stark it was. They didn't even recognize him. Oh, who? Oh, my God, that's Makai. That kind of stuff. So his body changed. He's still only 23 years old, guys. He's still only 23. And he's been at the facility. Robert Saleh has told us he's been at the facility all season. He's been there with them all season. He didn't just choose to go somewhere else. He stayed with our doctors, with our coaches, with our trainers, with our team, and that is the positive. And look, it's clearly having an impact. If he does that in voluntaries again, it's all that stuff that we were complaining about is out the window, and then we have a shot. Right now, if Becton can come back, and it's really a big if. It really is, man. We have 3 quarters of football in 2 seasons. The entire Robert Saleh regime, he's played 3 quarters. So the other thing is Robert Saleh said when Makai is healthy, we're talking about someone who can be transcendent. That's how good he is. Oh, Hank, right. Don't forget to hit like, everybody. Please don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's a great thing to do. It helps the channel, man. It's easy. It's easy on your end, and it's monumentally beneficial on this end. So we appreciate it, right? Vervain, what's up, Vervain? He says, Downing is fine. He's better working with the quarterbacks and the passing offense than Calabrese. Well, Vervain, did you hear this? There was a report that I saw yesterday. Now, again, it is what it is. But the word is that the Jets said Calabrese isn't going anywhere. And that's an interesting thing, right? They can still like him and think he's got a lot of potential while still acknowledging that maybe we had too much on him. Maybe he wasn't ready for this, right? You can do that. You can still see, you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. You don't have to. You can. But if they still like him, and they liked him enough to give him offensive coordinator duties when they were the coaches of the Senior Bowl. So there's that. They liked him. And he did a great job in that game. Great job. Our team, the Senior Bowl squad that the Jets coach looked light years better than the other team. They're very efficient, both offensively and defensively. Did a great job. But maybe they put too much on him. So they still like him as an up-and-comer. But he just didn't. It was way too much, more than he could handle. Just a bit off more than he could chew, right? Let's see. Let's see here. Why is that? I know. Are we still talking about Zach? Like, please, Jets forever. I can't understand, man. I just can't. I don't understand. There's every reason in the world to be where we ended up. Every reason in the world. Let's see here. Let's see. Interview. Let's see. Let's see here. Becton needs to stay healthy. I know that's crazy, man. It's just nuts. The fact that we, look at our general manager. We had a general manager that in 5 drafts, Mike McCagnon, 5 drafts, drafted 2 offensive linemen. 5, maybe 3. It's either 2 or 3. In 5 drafts. The highest being a 3rd. So clearly he doesn't think offensive line is a place where he needs to put resources, even though there's 5 positions. So that's 5 positions he completely ignored for 5 years. Right now, he would go out and spend a little money on Spencer Long or, traded for Kelechi Osemele. The Raiders were willing to give him up for a 6th, whatever. So we go from that to Joe Douglas has brought on it's over 30 different offensive linemen, including the low-level guys. But up top, in 3 drafts, he's used 2 first-round picks. One of them, he used 2/3 to trade up and get. So that's 2 firsts and 2/3. Plus, he used 2 fourth-round picks on Cam Clark, which is just, the craziest, most saddest situation with him. And then Max Mitchell, right? Who most of us at least like somewhat. Still, his career isn't written, but we don't know. We don't know what he's going to be, but we like him. You look at that. Look at the difference. In addition to, whatever free he signed McGovern and, he brought in all these other guys, right? But when you look at that, there's a stark difference. Now, it just so happens that both of those first-round picks were hurt all season, like out for the season hurt. So that's the sad part about it. We have to hope that this luck changes, right? Because the Jets' injuries this year, and I've talked about this with you before, the injuries that we had this year, guys, we were significantly improved. Significantly from the 4 or 5 years prior to this year, coming into this year. The Jets' injuries were, they were improved dramatically. The biggest injury on defense was what? Sheldon Rankins for 2 games? Quinnen was out one. LaMarcus Joyner got out for a couple weeks, but it was like large point. I'm loath to even say it. I'm nervous. I'm knocking on wood for us. It's the injury was totally different. Now, it just so happened all of our injuries, man, most of them were centered in one positional group. It was like crazy. there were weeks we lost 2 in 1 week. And we're talking about 3rd stringers getting injured for the year. Or at least, look, and I don't got to go through it all with you, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But that can't happen again, can it? It was like the most injury-plagued offensive line in Jets history. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. And without that, if AVT never gets hurt alone, AVT, Fant, if those guys don't get hurt, it's a whole different thing. We never see guys like Connor McDermott or Cedric Ogbuye. Right? We never see these guys. Mike Remmers. We never see them. If even the 2nd string stayed healthy. It's crazy. So we hope that changes. That's just it. David's got it. It's just, you just got to make sure that you go into the season not counting on him. You need to have something. If Becton goes down, you're not scrambling. That's paramount. If Joe Douglas doesn't do that, then he didn't learn. He's betting the odds. What's the chances that a 23-year-old goes out for a third straight season? Come on. He's playing those odds. And that's a point. I actually neglected to say this. Let's not forget that with Mekhi Becton not getting his 5th-year option taken, that makes this a contract year. He's going to do everything that he can. His career is sliding down the toilet. He knows it. He's a young man with all the talent in the world whose career is sliding down the toilet. That's what's happening. And he's going to do everything that he can. Everything that he can to look as good as he can, to help ensure that he's on the field as much as he can, and that he has every chance to succeed, because Becton's goal, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, his goal is to be a top 5 tackle and get a huge contract. That's what he wants, right? Of course. That's just it, Hank. Like, look, last year, you can't blame a guy for wanting to be with his girlfriend during the birth of their first child, right? You can't. But there is, there's a lot else. That wasn't the only thing. So again, the gripes were real and the gripes were legitimate. And that's what's up with that. So let's move. So there we go. So Todd Downing, and the new running coach, Keith Carter. It's an interesting collection of guys. The one thing that you can't say we don't have is experience. Oh, I got the wrong banner up there. I want somebody to look at this thing. I want you to tell me. Look, there it is. Sheesh. I got the wrong banner, man. The wrong ticker. So sorry about that. So let's see here. Zach. I can't even believe it. Should just put Zach to bed. Let him develop. If he becomes something great, if he becomes something fantastic, that's where it is. He's not going to be the starter this year. It's clear. It's clear. He had 3 chances last year to come back in and just recapture it, and he looked worse and worse every time. He's not the guy this year. Again, if he comes back later, great. Fantastic. But they're looking for another quarterback. So the argument is completely moot. Let's see what else we got here. Oh my God. It feels like it's week 13 in this chat today. Wow. Let's see what else we got here. There he is. Tony wants Streveler to get more reps. He likes that Streveler guy all year. I got to give Tony Alexio a lot of credit, right? Got to give him a lot of credit. He stayed right with it. Zach, wow, there's so many Zach comments. Amazing. New York Jets superfan. I'm a huge Jets fan. Of course, your name is Superfan, dude. You have a cape. We know what you look like. You got a cape. I want all our draft picks to be great, but sometimes they suck. I just want to get better players. Well, the good news with that, right, New York Jets superfan, is that we are doing that. We're doing that, right? We just had an historic offseason, guys. And that goes all the way back to the draft. So what we've done is something you cannot overlook it. People say, I got into this whole debate. You guys saw it, I'm sure. This whole debate out there on Twitter about some of it was in DM, but a lot of it was with people were saying it's not a big deal. They're a top 5 and a top 10 pick. Of course they're what? How can you possibly erase 60 years of Jets history of just flopping in the first and not acknowledge not only are they hits, but we swept Rookie of the Year. And we're not this team, like we're not The Cowboys, right? Or the Steelers or the Ravens. One of these teams that gets the benefit of the doubt. Like, we know, obviously Seattle fans wanted Kenneth Walker. And what's the other guy? On my brain. The cornerback. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me in a second. But they wanted their guys. And there were people that voted. But by and large, the Jets won, and we're not the team that wins. You see what I'm saying? We don't get that. We don't get usually the benefit of the doubt. We never have the guy that's just getting in on rep. We did once with Revis back in the day. His last Pro Bowl was not real, right? He shouldn't have made it in. He was fine, but he wasn't a Pro Bowl player. He got in because he's Revis, right? That's what they do. People just do that. I don't understand it. I don't like it. It's why Jets have been ignored throughout history. Kyle Clifton leads the league in tackles 3 or 4 years, 2 in a row. Doesn't even get looked at. Why? Because they like somebody else. He gets on. What about Mo Lewis? Mo Lewis never got in because names like Junior Seau, Derek Thomas, and the like, they got in over him. And nobody even considered otherwise. Mo was having better years than them. He was on a worse team, so they didn't care. So that's not us. Like Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner didn't get in because of rep. You see what I mean? They had to be that good, and they were that good. They won defensive and offensive MVP, rookies of the year. That is amazing. Now, in addition to that, Jermaine Johnson was very good this year. If Jermaine Johnson was our sole first-round pick, and we've done this myriad years in the past, guys, right? We did it with Quinnen. If he was our first-round pick, we didn't have Sauce, we didn't have Garrett. We had one first-round pick, and it was Jermaine Johnson. We would still be happy. We would be like, dude, he showed more than enough to be hopeful. We would still feel good about his career trajectory. We would. The only reason we're not talking about him at all is because Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner were so good. But then you look at Brees, another one, second-round pick. If he doesn't go down, he might win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Then look, we have Ruckert, who's on the bench. We can't say here or there about Ruckert, but we know we like him. And then look at Michael Clemens. Michael Clemens had his impact this year, blocked field goal, right? He had sacks. Dude, the guy in reserve duty, rotational duty, he looked every bit of a guy that was worth drafting. Dude, he did more than Lorenzo Malden, or a third-round pick, right? That we all hoped would be an edge rusher. Look at Ja'Kai Polite, right? So you got to remember. And then Max Mitchell. It's a great draft. And the 2021 draft is almost as good, guys. Yes, we whiffed on Zach. And I still think Elijah Moore, like, the one bad year with LaFleur, whatever the hell happened last year, Elijah Moore, you can't write him off. The kid's crazy talented, and he had a good rookie year. Look at AVT. We're talking all-pro level guard. The Zach thing, okay, at this point, it's a major whiff, and it's big. But then you got AVT, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, who's a fantastic back. Again, what happened to him at the end of the year? He fumbled in Buffalo, and then he never got more than 5 carries again. Why? Who knows? And you got Brandon Eccles, Michael Carter II. Look at these guys. All throughout the Pinnock, if we just kept him, he's a damn good player. Jamian Sherwood, amazing on special teams. Again, he's only second to Pro Bowler, All-Pro, I think, right? At least Pro Bowler, Hardy. So that's the whole thing. We have to make sure that we consider that stuff. People saying that it's a bad draft. Dude, we've had 2 very, very good drafts. Last year's draft was epic. Now we just got to hope it continues, right? That's been another fault of ours. Even the guys that come out and look good, they don't stay good. But yeah, that's why drafting on the character piece, guys, is so important. It's so important because then they're more likely to continue. They still want to improve. Yeah, they're rookie of the year. Garrett Wilson still wants to get better. Sauce Gardner, he's trying to be he's trying to be one of the greats, not just, oh, great, I had a good year and he wants to be great. We have a different makeup of our team. Mr. Buck, hey, what's up, man? I got to meet Mr. Bucks Nation down at the Senior Bowl. It's good to see you, man. Thank you for the super chat. We had ourselves a good time down there, huh? I mean, I had Bell's palsy and I was dealing with whatever. I had all kinds of stuff going on, man. I didn't realize how hit I was until I started coming out of it and getting better. I had the shit knocked out of me down there. Hey, look at that, William Sproggs. Well, thank you, William. Yeah, I know my face. Look, watch this. I can almost whistle. I can whistle. I'm not my normal whistling self. But, it's on my way back. So thank you. Walt says, JD had a magic draft. He got a handful of good players and 2 of them rookies of the year. It may not have been our year on the field, but wins were right there, right where we expected. I hope he rocks this next draft. Yeah, I mean, look, again, guys, you can say, look, if you want to be negative, then fine. You can be negative, right? You have more than enough reason to be negative. It's easy to be negative as a Jets fan. It's easy. It's the easiest thing to do. Anybody who's negative, they're not trying hard enough, in my opinion. It's easy to be negative. It's the easiest thing in the world to find what's wrong and point fingers at it. I mean, that goes across the board in life. The easiest thing in the world is to complain, right? The other thing that's significantly harder is to find positives and to validate them, see if they're actually real. But again, you look at all the good players that we brought on the last couple of years, right? It's different than anything we've ever done here. The only year that was, 2006 and 2007 were the only years that are in the same category ever with the Jets. You look at how we lost the game. 6 one-score losses. 6. That means any one of those games, the ball bounces differently, or if we have even average quarterback play, we win them. We had 3 or 4 games that the defense held the other team to a touchdown or less the whole game. So what does that tell you? Yeah, we didn't win as many games as we wanted, but we very easily could have won any one. We could have been 13-4 easily. I know. Well, we could have at least been 9 wins and in the playoffs. Easy. Yeah, right, Mike. I'm embarrassed to admit I keep forgetting we drafted Jermaine Johnson. The irony is I was in love with him pre-draft. Yeah, Jermaine Johnson, while I liked him, he was like my 4th edge rusher. He was above, I had him above, the hell's his name? Walker, the 1st overall pick. I can't believe that was the 1st overall pick. I mean, he might have a great career. I'm not saying, but I like Jermaine Johnson above him, but I liked Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, and George Karlaftis better than Jermaine Johnson. But I'm very happy with Jermaine Johnson. I liked him a bunch. And I think he's going to be good. So last thing we'll say, we have a few more minutes. Last thing I'll say, did you guys hear the comments recently from Derek Carr's brother, David Carr? Now, excuse me, we're all worried that Aaron Rodgers is going to come out of his soul-searching episode here, and he's going to choose the Raiders. Right now, there's other teams. There's also the Titans is one. Maybe even the Colts could come out and want to do something here. There are teams all over the place. Atlanta, right? So there's lots of teams. Now, when you look, though, specifically at the Raiders, a lot of people fear the Raiders for 2 reasons. 3 really. One is because they're out west, right? And that's where he's from. I mean, it's Vegas, it's Nevada, it's not California, but anybody who's been out there knows it's a skip. I mean, I used to drive Route 15 from LA to Vegas all the time through the Mojave Desert, 10 miles outside of Barstow, right? All that stuff. So that's one thing. The other thing is Davante Adams. Rodgers and Davante Adams were very, very successful together. And you saw the dip. You can say it's a couple things. Aaron Rodgers had a dip. Still it would be the best Jets quarterback year in history almost. Be up there, top 3 in our history. But for Rodgers, it's a down year. And one of the reasons could be Davante Adams. Another one could be Nathaniel Hackett, right? So they took away 2 of his main dudes, and he dipped. So Davante Adams is there. So that's another one. And what's the third one is that the Green Bay Packers don't want to, if they can avoid it, trade him into the NFC. They would prefer to trade him to the AFC, which the Raiders are. So a lot of people are concerned about this Raiders thing. But Derek Carr's brother, David Carr, who, as we know, had a long career in the NFL, not number 1 overall pick, definitely didn't meet that, but he did have a 10-year career or whatever it was in the NFL. Played for the Giants for a few years there. What he said was one of the main issues between Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr was that Josh McDaniels did not want to give the quarterback freedom at the line of scrimmage, and he just wanted him to step in line and do exactly what he wanted. He didn't give any creative ability to the quarterback. And he also didn't, during the game, there was no freedom to change anything. It was McDaniel's way or the highway. Now, maybe he would respect Aaron Rodgers more and lighten up a little bit, but that's not the word on the street. The word on the street, when you look at Josh McDaniels and his history, is that he's a control freak, right? That's one of the things that's said about him. He's tyrannical. So do you think Aaron Rodgers, even if that's a chance, you think he's going to go and take his last couple years and hitch him to Josh McDaniels? Why would he do that? Even if there's a chance he's going to, he says this now, but what about week 4? He starts going, listen, man, I told you what to do. That kind of shit. When he already knows Nathaniel Hackett, they've worked together for years to great success. NFL MVP, back to back. So do you see it? That was a big one for me. That's a huge one. He said that Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr did not meet, man. They bumped heads right away with that particular issue. McDaniels wanted it his way or the highway. No room to move. Now, again, we don't know. Maybe he's different with Aaron Rodgers, but that's what's coming out. So do you think Aaron Rodgers might at least have pause to agreeing to go there? Sure, Davante Adams is there. They got no offensive line, no defense. See what I mean? Sure, Davante Adams is there. Sure, Renfrew's great. Waller's great. And when they're hurt, when they're not hurt. How many games did Waller play this year? Let's see. Where do we see? Where's his stats? Hold on. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8. He played 8 games last year. So he missed 9. Darren Waller. How about Renfrew? How many games did he play? I think he was hurt some too, right? So he played 10 games. He played 10 games, so he missed 7. So, and the year before he played full. No, Hunter's been pretty healthy, actually. Hunter's been healthy. But let me see. Waller, let me see how he's been. He missed 6 games. So he missed 9 games last year. He missed 6 games the year before, 2 games the year before that, 1 before that. So he's kind of the last couple of years, he's had some injury woes. So again, these are things you have to look at. But I think the biggest thing was that comment. That's the thing. Hey, Jeremy's here. Good morning, Jeremy. You like that, Rusty? I slid that in for you and anybody else who recognized it. I still remember the first time I watched that damn movie. It was late at night. My girlfriend at the time, I was living with her. She was sleeping, and she was a tyrant while she slept. She was mean, dude. Mean. Shut up. Like, that's how she was. And I was quietly trying to watch Fear and Loathing. That whole first hour, I couldn't. She was so mad at me. I was vibrating the bed with how hard I was laughing. I could not stop. I could not help. If you guys have never seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, the first hour is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. It does, it tapers off some. I still think it's good, but it tapers off. But that car ride, it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in film history. And it's in the book too. I read the book, but it's, oh my God. Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro were amazing. All right, let's see. Well, you're laughing at Kayvon Thibodeau. He was good, dude. You can laugh all you want, Wild Wave. Jesus. He's what we call a hit. Now, granted, he looks like an idiot. That's probably why the Jets didn't want him. Kayvon Thibodeau's a stud, man. I don't know how you can laugh at that. He made the all-rookie team, I think, didn't he? I think so. He's fine. He's a good pick. Again, an asshole saying some stupid things. He's being a bonehead out there. But Craig wants to know if I follow any other teams. I don't anymore. I don't. I used to be a diehard Nets fan for years, man, when they were the worst. I'd go to 3, 4, 5, 10 Nets games a year. They were the worst. I've told this story, but they were so bad. The Nets were so bad for so long. They couldn't sell any tickets when they were playing at Bern, and they couldn't sell tickets, so they'd have to give away packages of tickets to elementary schools and church groups and things like that. So the whole bottom, the lower level would be filled with kids and me. And the 8 other diehard Nets fans that were there. It was the fucking worst. But how you go to Miami Heat and in the commercials, there's these beautiful girls. Yeah, boom, don't. They do this whole thing. They shake around and it's like it's adult. The Nets would have, I got to try to find this. New Jersey Nets dancing Bears, let's see. Let me see if we have them. No, it's all the Dead, Grateful Dead. Commercial, Dancing Monkeys, let's see. There's probably no record of it. Commercial breaks. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not going to find it anywhere. But so what they would do, dude, is in the commercial breaks, there would be all this Teletubbies music. Doom, 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 doom. And these bears would come out. La, 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 la. It was all for kids. It was embarrassing, man. And I was there. I was there when they had Jason Williams. I was there when they traded for Cassell and Bradley, and they did the whole thing. Then they went and got Kidd and drafted Kenyon. The hell was his name? Come on. Kenyon Martin, right. Justin Jefferson. Those were some fun years, the Vince Carter. But during the bad years of the Nets, I watched the Knicks. That was during the Patrick Ewing Knicks. I loved the Knicks. I was a diehard Knicks fan too. It's tough to do, I get it. But the Nets were so bad for so long that I watched the Knicks and I fell in love with them too. John Stark and Mason and Oakley and all the guys, man. I was diehard. I went to a couple Knicks games every year too. And I loved that. So I was big into that. I was also a big Yankees fan. I was a bleacher creature, man. We used to go to the bleachers. I've sat in the stands a few times too, but if I went to 20 Yankee games, I sat in the bleachers 15 times, 14, something like that, right? Maniacs. The old bleachers, the craziest place in the world. The Yankee Stadium bleachers. Let me tell you, man. Nuts. And then I was also a big NASCAR fan, Bill Elliott. Now I like his son, but I'm going to go to Richmond this year, but I don't really watch anything anymore. When I got sober, I couldn't do it. You know what those were? Those were reasons for me to be in the bar every night. That's what it was. And I also watched the Devils. And then when Dennis Bird got hurt and the Islanders put the number 90 on their helmet, I went right from the Devils right over to the Islanders in one day. I wasn't a big hockey fan, so it was easy. But just like that, I went from watching the Devils because they were New Jersey. I jumped right over to the Islanders, and I was a diehard Islanders fan for maybe 5 years. I used to go to the games out in Nassau, and then I would read the papers every day about I knew everything about I was a fan, but it faded away. All right, so I don't watch anything anymore. I don't watch shit. I can't. I don't have the time. Yep. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. So anyway, that's what that was. So David Carr's comments, guys, are really interesting. These damn bats, that's the best. We're in bat country. Oh, it's the best. Do we even know if he's a good offensive coordinator, though? Do we? He had Tom Brady, dude, his entire career. He had the 1 year with Matt Castle, which, look, you got to put that on his resume, but that's like saying, that's Hackett's 1 year with Blake Bortles. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm sure he's good. And Belichick was around forever, and Tom Brady, he's not going to respect somebody who sucks. I'm sure he's good, but maybe. I mean, dude, he had the greatest quarterback of all time almost his entire career. Every time he's left the nest, he has fallen on his face. So, you know what I mean? That's interesting. Yeah, J.R. Jet. It's a good point. To your point, Rodgers said he wants to be MVP again, and last time he was MVP was with Hackett. That's the whole thing, man. Like, look, whether or not it happens, we don't know, right? The Jets have to be willing to pay him. They have to be willing to give whatever capital that the Green Bay Packers want. We have to probably beat out. He's probably going to say something like, I'll go to this team and I'll go to that team. That's probably what he's going to say. And they're going to do that. They're not going to try to send him somewhere he doesn't want to go because he's not going to do it. So I'm not going. It's just that simple. I'll retire. I don't give a shit. And you guys will have to eat all the dead cap because even if they cut him, he's still $70 million on their dead cap kind of a thing. It's crazy. They can't just, whatever. So I don't know how a retirement actually would change it, but, yeah, so he's going to do that. And then you look at it, man. Like, we have the weapons. Garrett Wilson said it best. Why would you choose the Jets over the Raiders? Because we're better than the Raiders. The Raiders. That's why. We're better. He said, take a look around. We were a quarterback missing. We were missing a quarterback last year. That's what we were missing. That's what we were missing. And that's the whole thing. Like, Lewis, it's just so important. Like, people say, I mean, I've been asked this at least a dozen times over the past month. If Carr was so good, why are the Raiders getting rid of him? And there's just so many reasons why you would point the finger at Josh McDaniel. It doesn't mean that it makes sense. Even, guys, listen, David Carr also said that if Josh McDaniels would have just handled it differently, Derek Carr would have absolutely played nice and let them get a trade and the whole thing. Dude, McDaniels, not only did he just come in and do the same thing he did in Denver, it was a great quarterback here. I want to get rid of him. Don't forget, Jay Cutler threw for 4,500 yards the year before McDaniels came. He traded him for Kyle Orton when he got the number 1 pick and drafted Tim Tebow. So please, hold on. You know what I mean? So, and then not only did he do that again, the same thing again, but instead of like working he benched him. And then they had to cut him and they didn't even get a 7th round pick for a perennial 4,000 yard quarterback. Dude, I mean, that's the stupidest thing in the world. Can you see it? They're not, their heads aren't screwed on tight over there, man. Whether or not they succeed, who knows? But come on, that was a terrible move. Terrible. And he did the same thing in Denver. Remember, Jay Cutler came out and he said, I don't know what's up with that guy, but I don't trust him. He said, he came in, he's a shady dude. Everything was weird and secretive. And Jay Cutler went out and said that. I couldn't wait to get out of there. And he sucked because he was only in Denver for 3 years. That was his team. It was his team. Josh McDaniels should have come in and built around Jay Cutler. I believe he got rid of Brandon Marshall too. Like, why? I didn't like him. And then he tried to trade for Matt Castle and he couldn't. I don't know what happened there. Belichick said, go screw, I'm not giving him to you. Something. He ended up going to the Chiefs. And he had to trade for Kyle Orton, who's fine. He's a decent quarterback, but he's not Jay Cutler. And well, no matter what happened after that, it's just a stupid move. And then again, when you look at the thought process behind, number one, getting rid of Derek Carr, that's fine. You don't like him, that's fine. But the way he handled it was he alienated the guy and made it so he couldn't even get a damn 7th-round pick for him. Nothing. And David Carr said Derek Carr would have absolutely played nice. He would have absolutely, worked out which team he would go to, trade for, and and all. He would have done everything with them. Instead, they alienated him, benched him. His last games in Denver he was benched. Stupid. Do you see it? How can we possibly place any real emphasis on the wisdom behind those moves? How? It's just stupid, man. And again, whatever you think about even if you think Derek Carr sucks, somebody out there likes him. Of course, if you can get a third, a second, if they did it right, they could have did something where they got at least a first and probably more picks for him, without question, but they didn't. And that shows the lack of wisdom behind Josh McDaniels. He's up here, dude. He's just ego. That's all he is. I don't need that. That's what he is. My way or the highway. Why would Aaron Rodgers want to go do that? So I do want Derek Carr, good citizen. Of course. Anybody who doesn't is a fucking moron, in my opinion. Now, you could prefer Rodgers. Why you wouldn't want him, I don't even get it. Instantaneously, he'd be the best quarterback in Jets history. Of course, we have Namath, let's say since Namath. Win without question, instantaneously. And go watch some film on Derek Carr, dude. You'll see it, man. You'll see it. He is an excellent quarterback. Luke from Play Like a Jet put something on Twitter today talking about all the shootouts with the Chiefs that he's been in, 45-48. Dude, they had no defense, man. Of course I want Derek Carr. Anybody who doesn't isn't thinking. Their head isn't screwed on straight, man. What's wrong with you? Again, if you prefer Rodgers, fine. If you prefer Jimmy G, I don't get that, but fine. The thing with Jimmy G is this. While he's clearly a better quarterback than we've had here, obviously there's the injury thing, right? We know that. That's big. But in addition to that, dude, Brock Purdy came in 7th, the last pick in the draft, and looked just as good. Why? Because it's the schemes. Like Jimmy G, when you look at it, dude, like everybody's wide open. It's different than Derek Carr is threading the needle, man. It's just different, guys. Now, if we don't get him, fine. We got to get Carr or Rodgers, in my opinion, or it's a whiff. If we get Tannehill or we get Baker Mayfield or whoever, Jimmy G, they're all second tier, in my opinion. It's got to be Rodgers or Carr. And either one would elevate this team to places we have never seen. That's it. Yeah, there, Dark Soldier, thank you. His career average is 3,900 yards a season. That's 4,000 yards. Where I come from, If Sam Darnold, it's like when Zach didn't have a 300-yard game, but he had a 296. I don't want to hear it. It's 300 yards, right? I don't want to hear it, man. Like, come on. Right? Semantics. But, dude, he's among the best every year. There's greats and this and that, and this guy has a great year. And Derek Carr is right there every year. He's right there. And again, the year that Gruden got fired in the middle of the season with all that hubbub, Henry Ruggs went to jail for DUI. He threw for 4,800 yards and carried his team into the playoffs almost by himself. Crazy. Right, Glenn? Thank you. I know that I would love to see us get like Aaron Rodgers. I'd love to, dude, if we get Derek Carr, we don't give any picks. That's another thing. Holy shit. Wouldn't that be great? I would be on the phone with him right now. What are you looking for, dude? What are you looking for? 5 years, 6 years, 40 million? Dude, done. Done. Do it. Get him in here. Done. And we know we have our guy. You can build around him. You keep your 13th overall pick, like Rusty Spooner saying. You slide back a little bit. You get another second, another fifth. Yeah. Now we're talking. Then you take one of those seconds and you back up a little bit, gain a third. Maybe next year you start moving, shaking, and baking, and you got your quarterback. Oh, I'd love it. That's where the wisdom is, in my opinion. Now, if you want Rodgers and the whole thing and you got to give a pick, we're going to give the 13th overall pick, in my opinion. You got to. They're not going to give up Rodgers for less than that. Why would they? I don't know. Maybe Joe Douglas is quite the wizard, so who knows? Yeah, real Ruck. Saying Derek Carr. David Carr said Derek Carr. Well, let me rephrase. David Carr said Derek Carr does value defense. He wants a team. Dude, because he's never had it. He's never had better than the 20th ranked defense in the NFL. Imagine if those games where Derek Carr puts them up by 14 points, imagine they could hold on. Our defense can hold that. Right, M. Morris. Right. Yeah, and Jets Forever wants to remind us that with zero proof and or accomplishment, Zach Wilson is somehow better than everybody, including Aaron Rodgers, who's a multiple-time MVP, Super Bowl champion quarterback, one of the all-time greats. Zach is somehow better. Thank you. We will end on that note after Thomas Cahill talks A Galaxy Far, Far Away, which is fantastic. Hey, man, let's do it. Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. Again, Derek Carr, one of the major benefits is we keep our picks. That is not to be undervalued, okay? And I don't want to wait. I'm nervous about this waiting for Aaron Rodgers thing. I'd love it to happen. 4 years, $4 million. You're a funny guy. You really are. $4 million per. 4 years, $4 million. That's the best we're going to give you. Take it or leave it, buddy. Take it or leave it. And that's another thing, William Sprague. Let's not forget, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers brings a whole bunch of kind of other stuff. You can't say he's not loyal. He's been on the same team. But every year, these fans up there in Green Bay have been dealing with, is Aaron Rodgers going to leave? Is Aaron Rodgers going to retire? Is Aaron Rodgers going to be traded? Now, granted, it's been 15 years or 20 years or whatever the hell it's been with him. So anyway, they're tiring of that. So there's that. They never had that with Derek Carr. Dom C. Good morning, Dom, checking in. Let's not forget Dom C's putting up some amazing content on this very channel. Project Prospect. The first one is on Trey Palmer, a potential mid-round wide receiver the Jets might be considering. Dom's breaking them all down for us. And if you're looking to learn about some prospects that are not out front that everybody's talking about, you might want to check out Dom C's reports on this channel right here. Now, that all said, guys, I want to thank you. Please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button on your way out. It is greatly appreciated. If you want more content, the off-season schedule was just released yesterday for our beanbaggers. We have breakdowns and classic games and private mocks and all sorts of fun stuff. Every single week, we're doing something together. If you want to join in, the link to join the beanbaggers is in the description of this video, and you can do that very easily. And that is obviously appreciated. It helps the channel. Or you can join the Stream Beaners. The join button is right below the screen. And that helps to give you more live stream fun, more emojis and free super chats and those kinds of things. Guys, have a great rest of the day. Look at this. Hawk liked your video. Or Hank liked your video. So have a great day, everybody. And let's see what let's do this because in honor, I just love it. I couldn't be happier about this. Guys, have a great day. I'll see you tonight for the Thursday Thick of It. Don't forget, me and Gunny and Watu-K and Jeremy will be hanging out with you tonight at 8 p.m. on the Thursday Thick of It. See you there, everybody.
As a Hall of Fame voting group, we need to re-examine some careers. And I think we need to re-examine the career of Joe Klecko.
Dang, I want to see how I do against this guy. Because he was the best.
Left guard can't handle Klecko. Just knock the crap out of the guy across from you.
Intensity, bottom line. Never take a play off.
He was incredibly strong.
His just pure raw strength.
He was the same every play. Ball zone.
It was an incredible accomplishment to be dominant at one position in the NFL in your career, but to be dominant at three positions